Welcome to Big B Daily. No frauds allowed.
What is going on, people? Happy Tuesday. Good Tuesday today. Good Tuesday today, man. Big B Daily Show, live on TikTok, live on YouTube, man. What is happening, you guys? What is happening, man? Good day today. We got a good show lined up today, man. We're talking, we got the fraud of the week. We're talking a little bit of Coach Prime, talking bad quarterbacks, bad coaches, might as well throw in bad owners. And then, we got the open mic session. So my man CJ may or may not be here today. We'll see. But if he isn't, that's okay. That is okay. We're still going to do our thing, man. We are going to do our thing. So I appreciate y'all joining. As always, keep tapping the screen. If you're live on TikTok, 3,500 likes, and we need at least 30 new follows. So we need 30 follows. We're at 0. So if you're in here and you're not following, give us a follow and keep tapping. We're going to take it up to 5,000 likes. Forget 3,500. Let's go to 5,000. Let's get the show on the road. What's going on, James Richards, over on YouTube? What's happening? Golf Hawk? People showing up. What's going on, Maurice? What's up, man? I appreciate y'all joining. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So let's get it going. Fraud of the week, people. Fraud of the week. We're coming right out of the gates. And again, y'all know how this works. Interactive. Who do y'all think is fraud of the week? Now, I kind of gave it away yesterday. On who I said I believe the fraud of the weeks were. That's right. I said the Lions. That's right. And I'm going to have to be convinced by you guys that it's somebody else. That it's somebody, like somebody said, the Auburn defensive coordinator. See, I can get behind that. The Auburn secondary. Yeah, I can get behind that. But I think it's got to be the Lions. Somebody said Josh Dobbs. Ooh, spicy. Josh Dobbs. Did Cinderella stay out too late when it comes to Josh Dobbs? Did Cinderella stay out? That was terrible last night. That was terrible. Man, we love Josh Dobbs. We love the story. But there was a reason that the guy has been a third string, not a backup quarterback, a third string quarterback the majority of his career. There's a reason for that. So the Browns defense, I see it on TikTok. People are going off on TikTok. They're not trying to hear it. Deontay Johnson's effort, man. Woo! I like that's clever. Deontay Johnson's effort. That's clever. Fraud of the week. The Kansas State defense. Did y'all happen to see the Kansas State Iowa State football game in the snow? That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Lots of frauds this week, Maurice. Lots of frauds, brother. Lots of them. Rivalry games shouldn't count them as being frauds. Buddy Claiborne, sit down, shut it up. Now, see, I know Buddy Claiborne, so I can talk to him. The bottom line is, I don't care what game it is. You're going to tell me that a team that had the ball for 18 minutes, ran 35 plays, scores 42 points. Give me a break. In a competitive football game, I don't want to hear it. And Kansas State, Iowa State ain't that big of a rival anyway. So let's not get crazy. Either way, I'm sticking with the Lions. Y'all didn't convince me it was anybody else. I'm sticking with the Lions. Frauds of the week, Detroit Lions. All that yapping, 8-2, all that yapping. Thanksgiving, only to get your head beaten in by the Packers at home Frauds. So I want to be able to give it to somebody else. I love it. But either way, bottom line is, Buddy Claiborne. Here, people, you're going to have to give it to this Buddy Claiborne guy. He's saying losing to a playoff team doesn't make you a fraud. Who believes that the Packers are a playoff team? Who believes that? Now, they may slide in at the end, but does anybody think that the Packers are a playoff team? By the way, the definition of a fraud, just for you, Mr. Buddy Claiborne, would be when you're supposed to be good and you're proven to be a fraud. You do something fraudulent, like losing to the Green Bay Packers. That makes you fraudulent. Don't nobody think that Green Bay's any good. Everybody thought the Lions were good. You got smacked around at home. Fraud of the week, Detroit Lions. Deal with it, people. Deal with it. And you guys, if you're not on YouTube, come on over to YouTube. Feel free to attack Buddy Claiborne. Attack him. Now, don't be totally disrespectful. You can be a little disrespectful to him, but attack him. Attack him. He can take it. You're at home on Thanksgiving. You're pushing for the 1 seed. You don't lose. Frauds. Christopher Polanco. Thank you, brother. You're pushing for the 1 seed. And you lose at home. You don't just lose. You get physically whipped by the Green Bay Packers. Fraud. Is there really a fraud in the NFL, says my man Hooligan? Yeah, we just named one, the Detroit Lions. Fraud. So, yeah, it's sad. It's sad. I don't think the Bills are frauds. I don't think that's a good one. Because do we think that the Bills are that good at this point? I mean, how many games are we going to let the Bills lose before we say they're not that good anymore? I mean, you know what I'm saying? How many games? Oh, somebody said Ryan Day. I love it. But how many games do you get to lose before we finally say, hey, man, you're just not good anymore? How many times do we get to do that? So let's do this. Yeah, we got an idiot over on YouTube, but it is what it is. Sorry, people. Yeah, we got an idiot over on YouTube. I mean, how bad does your life have to be to come watch somebody on YouTube on live so just to say stuff to them? I mean, how bad does your life have to be? So it is what it is. It is what it is. Let's move on. Coach Prime feeling the heat, man. What is going on in Colorado? I would say the first thing is, let me ask you all this question. Was it successful in Colorado this year? Was it successful in Colorado this year? I would say, yeah, it is. I would say yes. I would say that Colorado had a successful season. They were 1-11 last year, the laughing stock of college football, and they weren't that. So compared to last year, yeah, it was successful. And not to mention, if ticket sales were up, they were up like 400%. Merchandise sales were up 500%. They averaged $18 million a home game gross revenue. They're doing something right. You know, And you can say they were fraudulent on the field. I'll get behind that because they weren't very good. A lot of us said that they were going to struggle when they played good teams. I was one of those people. But you know what? They got better towards the end of the year, and they did. Outside of that Washington State game, that was brutal. But, they fought. Their lines were terrible, like we thought. Y'all remember when people were giving Tom Luganbill a bowl of shit after the first game because he said that they weren't going to be able to keep Shedeur Sanders upright? Y'all remember that? And everybody said he had no idea what he was talking about. Turns out, Tom Luganbill knew exactly what he was talking about. He knew exactly what he was talking about. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, man, I think Coach Prime, I think it was a successful season. Now he's got to keep it going. He got to fix those lines. But here's the thing. People keep leaving. People are leaving. The coaching staffs are starting to leave. You got guys resigning. You got commits that are not staying, that are decommitting from Colorado. I think he's got to go hire a reputable offensive line coach if he doesn't already have one, because you got to fix that problem. Now, they're supposed to be bringing in Warren Sapp to fix the D-line, but I don't care who your coach is. If you don't have players, you ain't winning. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So, he's got to plug the dam, because right now the dam is leaking in Colorado. The dam is leaking. He's got to plug it up and find a quick fix. So, we'll see. We will see. Let's move on. So, bad quarterbacks, bad QBs, and bad coaches, man. They seem to run hand in hand these days. And our man CJ is here, and we'll get into that with him. These bad coaches right now, or I take that back, these bad quarterbacks, they seem to be getting coaches fired. But on the other hand, are the quarterbacks actually good and they're getting put into bad situations? Are quarterbacks actually better, but they get put into bad situations with the coaches? Let's bring our man in here, our quarterback guru, my man Chris James. Let's bring him in and let's talk about it a little bit. CJ, what's going on, man?
I'm doing all right off this holiday weekend. How you doing, Big B?
I am doing all right, man. I appreciate you taking the time today. So, bad quarterbacks versus bad coaches. It seems that a lot of these, and the organization in itself, I'm going to lump that in with the bad coaches, because a lot of times the organizations are what the problem is. Chicago, Carolina. I mean, we could say Houston, but Houston saved itself. They hired a good coach, made a good draft pick, because Houston was in that same boat. But there's several organizations that have just been bad, just been graveyards for quarterbacks, and maybe it wasn't their fault. Is that what you're seeing out there? Are we seeing a lot of that out there?
Two things can be true, and in some instances, one thing's more true than the other. You named two situations where one guy he's a rookie. We remember
Yes.
how much Trevor Lawrence stunk as a
Yes.
rookie, but the infrastructure was terrible also. So he
Correct.
didn't have a place to actually be ingratiated and grow into still becoming an adult at that point. Same thing with Bryce
Right.
Young. He was 21, about to be 22. I think with a situation like him, they just needed to get something that wasn't as stale as the situation that was with Frank Wright. Nothing
Right.
against him as a person, but that entire situation, from things that I've heard, was not okay. And
Right.
Bryce should be in a better spot now than he might have been prior to.
And look, and I don't mean to cut you off, from a press conference that Frank Wright had week 4, it looked like he wanted out, because he basically said, without saying it, We have these meetings with the owner where he basically comes down and cusses us out, and I'm tired of having them. I'm like, and how he came off and how he actually said it was, well, we have these meetings and they're tough meetings to have, but he's the owner. And I'm like, oh, this guy doesn't want to be here. He does not want to be here any longer. And that was week 4, CJ. Week 4.
Yeah. No, and look, you can have a point, but you still have to handle yourself a certain way. And
Yes.
I don't think that was handled well. So I'm hoping that things get a little better for Bryce Young, because all he's done is try to navigate a tough situation on his end.
Correct.
Chicago's a different situation. I'm a big Justin Fields fan, and I think Justin Fields can work well in certain situations. I wish he would have been in Atlanta and not in Chicago.
Right.
But we're here. And where we are is in a place where Justin Fields hasn't progressed to where he needs to. And part of that's been coaching. Part of that's been him.
Yeah. Yep. I think Justin Fields, I made a post about it today. I wouldn't mind Justin Fields being traded out of that situation because they're going to get a new head coach. They're going to get a new head coach. And if you're going to get a new head coach, then at some point they're going to want their guy. The general manager is going to want his guy. So if that's all the case, with Chicago, again, keeps doing it backwards. Who the hell hires a coach, then hires a general manager, but the quarterback was there before all of them? How does that work? I just don't know how that works, man. and again, it's crazy. But I think that's going to happen. Maybe Uberfluss stays. Who knows? But I think Justin Fields would just be better if he was in a different situation altogether. And the Bears, if they do this right, CJ, they have an opportunity to make their team really good, really fast. Cap room, draft picks, they can become pretty good.
Yeah, see, I'm in the same boat where you are when it comes to Justin Fields, and the major portion of it is I want things that are good for him. See, some people are part of their narrative is trying to prove the point of Justin Fields can work. It's not about him not having talent. That situation seems flawed for him.
Correct.
And a hard reset for him and for that organization might be the best.
Gotcha. So let's see. The next situation, and we covered Bryce Young, I look at Arizona. Arizona with Kyler Murray, that whole dynamic, man, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure if they're going to keep him. People say you can't get out of the contract. I'm like, you can trade him. And if somebody wants him, they'll make room. They'll always make room for a quarterback, so they can make room if they choose to make the room. What do you see in Arizona? Because it seemed like Kyler Murray may have gotten, Kingsbury fired, although I think he was a bad head coach. Probably should have never had that job to begin with.
Yeah, Kingsbury shouldn't have had the job. That's my opinion. It does not mean it's fact, but based on his resume prior to, based on what he ended up being
Never
in the
seen
NFL, he shouldn't have had that. Kyler Murray is an uber talented guy. He's one of the most naturally talented quarterbacks at playing the position that I've ever seen. The problem is Kyler Murray, it never seems like it has taken off with him. It seems like he just goes out there and plays. It doesn't seem like they've built on anything. He hasn't gotten better in certain areas and arenas. And honestly, that's another situation where they really need to part ways because they're not going to get better with what Kyler Murray is offering and that coaching staff being new. They need their person to come in there. As far as the money shouldn't be something that restricts you so much because you can get a rookie in there on a rookie deal for the next 4 years plus that 5th year. By that time, that dead cap money is gone.
Right.
So we can make whatever excuse you want to. You can get rid of Kyler Murray if there's another organization that wants him, and there's definitely other organizations who would.
Got it. Makes sense to me. It makes perfect sense to me. I look at that situation, and I'm just like, ugh, horrible situation. Another situation that's starting to come up. New York Giants, Daniel Jones. It's starting to come out. The rumors are starting to swirl. And it's kind of been that way all year that the locker room thought that they should have paid Saquon Barkley and not Daniel Jones. That's what conventional wisdom will tell you. They're not going to fire Brian Daboll, are they?
That's a great question. I'm going to say this. If Brian Dable gets fired, he doesn't get fired because of Daniel Jones. And that sounds crazy. He gets fired because of himself. He's behaved like a maniac on the sideline when
Yeah, he
things have
has.
not gone well. And the one thing that organizations such as the Giants or anyone that has a bad situation, they want you to handle things in a manner that conveys confidence, even if things are going down, even if they're going terribly. That's what they
Right.
wanted from him, and he hasn't done that. So if he gets fired, it'll be because of that, not Daniel Jones. As far as paying him, I don't know what their front office was doing, but you would have saved a lot of money paying Saquon Barkley a reasonable contract, a Derrick Henry type deal, and giving Daniel Jones that non-exclusive tag, play him on the tag, and if he balled out again, you were going to pay him the money anyway. Like
Makes sense.
it didn't make sense the way that they went about it. They actually went counter what what they said they wanted to do, which is you don't want to give him a running back money when he's at the end of his career. Saquon Barkley wasn't at the end of his career. That's in 2
No.
years. So,
Oh.
so you're supposed to pay him now. Now they're going to probably tag him again. It's going to be a big mess. And then they're just going to lose out on everything that they've tried to do. And as far as the people who wanted them to tank and lose to the Patriots to get a better draft pick, until you fix organizationally what you do wrong, because the Giants are one of the losingest franchises over the last half decade in the entire NFL. I think they might be the worst team in the NFL.
Right.
You need to fix that before anything else.
Yeah. The Giants are bad. The organization bad. It's interesting. It's kind of what we just talked about with Chicago. The organization is just a dumpster fire. Arizona, you can lump them in there the same way. It's like some of these organizations / coaches are killing quarterbacks, and quarterbacks can be bad. It's just what you said. Two things can be true, but man, it seems like organizations are getting in the way. On the flip side of that, you can look at a situation like Seattle with Geno. Geno came in, they brought him in. I think Seattle just thought, we got Geno. We're not going to be great. We got a young roster. We'll rebuild. Geno has a crazy year, but Seattle, smart franchise, very smart. They give him a contract. It's basically a 1-year deal. And if he doesn't play well, which he's not, they can get out of it. And and that's the difference in organizations dealing with quarterbacks / coaches dealing with quarterbacks. It's just the organizations can kill, and they can also be smart and think, we're not giving all this money to these people. We're not doing it, man. And I think that's got to start being the case where organizations have to fight back on these quarterbacks. What do you think?
Well, yeah. So Geno was a special case where they did the intelligent thing. They brought in a guy that was clearly talented. Second round pick, really should have been a late first round pick, to be honest.
Right.
They brought him in, let him learn what was going on, learn the landscape, kept him, let him win the job. He played really well last year. He hasn't played terribly this year. He's had some bad moments, but Geno is a limited upside guy at this stage. They're still in a position to take a local guy because I still don't think he's going top 10 because he's not going to have the workouts that people want. That's Michael Penix.
Correct.
They can try to trade up and go get Michael Penix around 11 or 12 because they'll probably be 20. They'll probably just miss the playoffs. Okay, then you have a hard reset on the quarterback position. You still have Geno under contract who you can pay so that Penix can get his feet wet in the NFL, and then you move forward. They didn't panic and pay a guy who hadn't shown them much of anything like the Giants did. So
yes.
The difference between a solid organization at this stage and
Correct.
One that is kind of in flux.
Correct. Because you got to fight back. This whole, well, he's the starter, that's what starters make. I'm not a believer in that. Just because that's your starter, that doesn't mean everybody gets $45 million. That doesn't mean everybody gets $40 million. Doesn't mean that at all. If you don't earn it and you aren't worth it, do you think San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy's got a little while before his contract is up. You think they're going to be bending over backwards to pay that guy $55 million? Because that's what it'll be. $55 million. They'll have to dismantle that team. And if they're willing to do that, okay. but I don't think they are.
No, they're not going to do that. But also, I have a weird suspicion that they're going to end up giving him a middle of the road deal, and he'll take it.
Sure.
I think Brock Purdy's not silly enough to say, I'm a $55 million a year guy.
Yes.
Give me 35. And that doesn't sound like that's a lot of money, first
It's a
off.
lot of money a year.
But your life is much easier playing in San Francisco, a place that's a perfect fit for your skill set.
That's right.
And you can take a discount and let that team continue to be great, because in other places, Brock Purdy would just be a guy. That's my opinion.
Correct. I've been saying that the whole time. He's played good the last few weeks. You got to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
But I've said the same thing about Brock Purdy that I know you said, CJ, I've said, and other people have said, is that Brock Purdy is good as long as there's no game pressure. And what I mean by game pressure, tie score third quarter. You're down a touchdown with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. That's game pressure. And he's played well, but when there's game pressure, we've seen it. He hasn't. And people want to say, oh, well, this guy was out, that guy's out. You're the quarterback. Just because one guy is out, that means you have to just play horrible? No, that's not what that means. That's not what that means. Okay, because the defense didn't shut everybody out and give you an opportunity, you can't go toe-to-toe with somebody? No, he couldn't. So, but you're right about Brock Purdy. Give us somebody around the league right now that's playing better than I think a lot of people were, or he's gotten better during the season. Let me just throw a name out at you. I think it's Jordan Love that's gotten better as the season has progressed.
I'm glad you said Jordan Love. One of my friends, who he's not an analyst or anything like that, he's just a Packers fan.
Right?
He's a reasonable one. He said, look at these stats. Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers have almost the same exact stats through the amount of starts they had to start this season. Aaron Rodgers' first year as a starter versus Jordan Love's, they look almost identical.
Gotcha.
Aaron Rodgers didn't bring that team to the playoffs in year one.
No, he didn't.
What's happening with Jordan Love is he's finally able to get his feet wet, and he doesn't have a guy that's a leader on that offense in that receiving room that could have taken him to the side and been like, okay, here's how you do this with this. He had other guys who were younger than him. He was supposed to be the leader.
Right.
And he wasn't ready for that role. Now he's starting to come into it. That talent is starting to show more. And he's not trying to rush and force things like he was earlier in the season. And I think that they need to actually give him a year to be that guy. And this wasn't the year. Next year's that year. If he doesn't work out next year, that's when you know you don't have the guy.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Dak Prescott. There's another name for you. Dak Prescott. I know Cowboys fan, first of all, I say that, and Cowboys fans are going to go through the roof. But let's just be realistic. And we can say it's against bad teams, but I don't think Philadelphia Eagles are a bad football team. And he played very well against the Eagles. So Dak Prescott's a guy. Now, part of it's play calling, but he's gotten better as the season has progressed.
You know what? I'm not even going to bring up this person's name. It was a guy who works in the industry who people are very familiar with. Once he realized things weren't going his way, he changed to his actual personality. I think part of what's happening now is Dak's like, he's giving zero blanks.
Yeah.
He was always so concerned with trying to do all the right stuff to make sure people couldn't judge him. And I've made this statement, and I don't care who doesn't agree with me. Other than a handful of guys who carry their teams, you know, the Mahomes, Allens, Lamar Jacksons, he's right there with other guys like a Justin Herbert, guys who are really good, but they haven't shown that they've carried a team. And Dak has been doing it, which is showing up, giving that team a chance to win, even in games when, honestly, they shouldn't sometimes. So, yeah, that Eagles game, he balled out. He just made a few errors, but they were 1 inch away from a touchdown.
Correct.
They were 2 yards of a bad step away from getting the 2-point conversion. Dak's been doing what any really good quarterback does when they stop caring so much about what people think about him.
Yes. CJ, have you ever seen anybody take as much grief for somebody that's running towards the sidelines, diving in the end zone, and they accidentally step out of bounds? Have you seen or even heard of anybody take so much grief that Dak has taken for doing that?
I have not, and I'm thinking of guys who've gotten credit for losing.
Yes.
I mean, Josh Allen, who I have nothing personal against, I think he's a dog. Josh Allen got credit for losing a playoff game. Dak played the NFC champion, defending champion, and he played well. He moved him down the field at the end of the game, and he gets smashed. Yes, they lost. But why? There's a lot of reasons, maybe. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go into them, but Dak
It's
got more
nuts.
than he deserved in a negative fashion for that.
Absolutely. Being the Cowboys quarterback, you're going to run into that. It is what it is. Here's another quarterback, and I won't hold you too long, that has gotten better, and he's cooking. Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has gotten way better just doing what I think Sean Payton simplified the offense, asked him to do this. First of all, they're running the ball a hell of a lot better, but they've simplified it, and Russ is cooking, CJ. He's cooking, man.
Well, yeah, Russ is doing some of the stuff because in the middle of his career, there was a 3-year stretch when Russ was really balling.
Yeah.
But he looks like the initial Russ, that first 4 years Russ, where let me just make some plays, not make mistakes.
Yeah.
When you really do need me to make 1 or 2 big plays, I'm making them. He has 2 touchdown passes this year to Cortland Sutton that are absurd.
Yes. Yes.
Like, there's like 3 people in the league other than him who could ever even try to do those things. And that's all you need. And Sean Payton, even though I give him grief on a personal level, we know he's a good coach.
Yeah.
And eventually he was going to get things straightened out. It just happened quicker than I even thought it was going to happen.
Correct. And who knows what the residue left over from that team, from the previous year. It just took them a minute to get off. Because, look, Vance Joseph is a good defensive coordinator. And they gave up 70 points. So, 70 points in a football game is unreal. But guys were quitting, and they must have had a come-to-Jesus meeting because that defense, since that day, has completely turned it around. And like I said, Vance Joseph is a good defensive coordinator, and he's got those boys playing good football. But you brought up something about Russell Wilson. I think the best throw that I've seen, not only this year, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, came in that loss to Kansas City, that touchdown that he threw in the quarter of the end zone to Cortland Sutton. That was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Russ couldn't have even thought about doing that last year. Couldn't have thought about doing it. The guy's got it together, man. You're right, CJ. He's got it together.
Yeah, there was that one, and I think it was against the Bills was the other one where I don't understand how he made those throws.
No.
I've only seen Mahomes pull those throws off. And
it's crazy.
You're right on the getting things straightened out portion because remember, they traded and released some guys from that defense after that. And there's that picture that floats around on the internet where Devon Achane was running, and there were like 7 players on the ground. That should never happen because they don't get close to each other. It was some guys were dogging it.
Yes.
And they're not anymore.
That's right. You're exactly right. You're right about that. I had forgotten. They traded and they got rid of a few guys. They cut some guys and they said, this is what we're doing. And either we're going to live with it and stick with it. And they've got to figure it out right now, man. They're a dark horse to make the playoffs. One last thing I gotta ask you about it because it's my squad. The Pittsburgh Steelers looks like they found a little bit of offense, CJ. Baby Hands Pickett actually understands that there's a middle of the field that you can throw the football to and that the football doesn't disappear. Your guys don't fall in a black hole if you actually use it. I saw a game plan. I saw a lot of stuff. Did you see anything that says, yeah, Kenny Pickett's not the greatest quarterback in the world, but he's serviceable?
So I'll be honest, I didn't see that game because I was actually wasting my time at the Falcons Saints game. But what I heard, and someone said this on ESPN, I think it might have been Dan Orlovsky, they were just running plays before. I heard that they were building on stuff in this game. They were actually designing an offense to take advantage of the opposition, and that's why everyone looked fresher. Look, Matt Canada's probably a really good guy, but I remember him from LSU. A lot of the stuff that he would do was just way too basic, and it didn't really progress things forward.
No.
So now it looks like they might have an offense. And if you give Pickett that chance, Pickett, again, we've talked about it. Pickett's not really good, but he's not terrible. What he
Correct.
is an average quarterback who probably shouldn't have gone in the first round that has talent around him, and he can get the ball to him usually. And that tight end's an easy one to get it to when that's your third or fourth best pass catcher on the team, and he's
Yes.
still a good tight end.
Yes. And that's where the difference comes in, is that first of all, you're right about the play calling. They were dictating, okay, we're going to give you this look. What are you going to do? And they actually, okay, well, you're going to do that. Well, we're going to give you this look again, and we're going to do something different. Or better yet, we're going to come out with 3 tight ends, and we're going to throw the football. They did that 4 different times, got 3 first downs. We're going to come out in 3 tight ends. Now, still, 13 personnel, the Steelers just won't use a fullback, but whatever. So they come out in 13 personnel 4 different times, but they throw the football. And I'm like, that's a plan. That's something that you can build on, and he did. Threw the ball down the middle of the field, threw the ball deep down the field, which, again, he was allergic to. He just would not do it. Did it twice. Looked good. Now, we got to work on Deontay Johnson's effort a little bit. We got to work on that. But once we get that figured out, the points will start happening. They'll start happening. So, man, thank you for joining us today, CJ. As always, man, we're going to have to start doing this a little bit more, maybe in a different format, and get you on more, maybe do something separate from here. So I appreciate the time, man. Again, as always, tell everybody where they can find you, brother.
Sure. First off, there was a pause on the podcast, so that's why last time I was oddly mentioned, but that'll be back starting back this week. The podcast will be going on 4 times a week. That's Chopping It Up with CJ. You can find it on Apple Pod, Spotify, or any of your podcast players. I'm also, if you're in the New York area, I do fantasy football each week for Pix 11, the CW affiliate up there. I do videos with football game plan as well still. And yeah, we're going to start to expand the network. I got some good things coming up for you all that I'm going to tell you about once they're actually cemented.
All right, man. I appreciate that. And everybody thanks you. They enjoy listening to you, man. So thanks for coming on the show. And we will see you next week, my man.
Sounds like a plan. And I appreciate that. Thanks.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, people. That was our guy, CJ. Knows quarterbacks, breaks down quarterbacks for a living. That's what he does. So let's get to you guys, man. So let's see what's going on here. We had a lot of crazy people over on YouTube. We had some crazy people over on TikTok. It's just been wild today. I don't know if it's a full moon or what's going on. Anyway, let's get back to the Q&A section. What you guys got, man? One thing is Niners, Eagles. People have been asking me about that all day today. And my thoughts are it's pretty simple. I like the 49ers because I think the 49ers are better than the Eagles. The period, point blank. I think the 49ers are just better than the Eagles. And I think they're going to go to Philadelphia because I think the game's in Philadelphia. And I think they're going to go win. Now, that doesn't mean I think the game's going to be a blowout or the 49ers are going to get blown out or blow them out or the Eagles are going to suck, blah, blah, blah. I just look at the matchup, and I think the 49ers are going to win. So, now, I can be wrong. And I don't mind being wrong. But that's what I think. I think they're the more physical football team when it comes to the 49ers offense and the Eagles defense. It's weird to say, but I think that's the case. And I think the 49ers are going to be able to throw the football on the Eagles. I think that. So, my man Tyler on TikTok says, you're wrong. And here's another thing. I don't want people to get – they've been talking about the Eagles scraping by and that the Eagles have barely won. But my thing is, it's the NFL. It's not college. You're not just blowing teams out. It doesn't work that way, especially when you play good competition. You just don't blow teams out, man. So if you win by 3, you win by 5, you win by 8, that's a good win. Win's a win. You can't think of, okay, well, if you didn't win by 14, well, you scraped by. NFL games are close. They're all close for a reason. Every now and then you'll get a blowout, but that is few and far between. Few and far between. So let's see. The Eagles have been coming from behind. There's a difference. They have been coming from behind. But sometimes when you get behind good competition, sometimes that good competition knows how to shut the door on you. And I think the 49ers know how to shut that door. That's the difference. I think the 49ers know how to shut that door. So my man Kevin K said he gained a lot of respect for Russell Wilson after the Bills game. Yeah, absolutely. Look, Russ has been cooking. We can say what we want. Russell Wilson has been cooking, and so have the Broncos. So have the Broncos. And if you look at the Broncos' schedule, if they keep going, the Broncos make the playoffs. They can make the playoffs, man. I'm telling you. If they keep going, they got a shot because that schedule, they got a tough one this week. But, man, I think they got a shot to make the playoffs. So, should the Seahawks get a QB in the draft? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Geno Smith, it is what it is. Drew Lock, is a career backup. He can't play. So, yes, they got to go get a quarterback. They got to go get a quarterback. And again, thank you guys on TikTok, man. Keep tapping the screen. We passed 5,000 likes. You might as well get to 10,000. And we're looking for 30 follows. So if you're in here, please give me a follow on TikTok if you're not already. I would appreciate it. And then again, click on that YouTube link in my bio. Click on that link and go and subscribe to Big B Sports Talk, man. I would appreciate it. We had some weirdos in the live chat, but you know what? They can be weirdos. They're making comments. That's helping the algorithm and helping us out. So we don't care. We don't care. Bud Snodgrass said Chiefs gave the Eagles the victory. 49ers are going to win. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, look, the Chiefs may have gave them the victory, but they dropped the ball. It is what it is. I just think the 49ers are better. I think the 49ers are better. So, my man Hooligan says, when the 49ers want to prove a point, they have proved it this year. Feels like the 49ers are going to want to prove a point. What do y'all think, TikTok? What do y'all think about that? And somebody on TikTok, my man Woodstock, said the Niners have have unfinished business with the Eagles from last year. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's a grown man. When you're a grown man, whatever, you're an adult. You feel that. I think the 49ers are like, we would have beat you last year had two quarterbacks not gotten hurt. Not just one, two. We got our damn tailback lining up as the quarterback. Can't throw the football. So, we'll see. We will see. And I can get rid of people over here on TikTok, though. We're not going to have that nonsense. Yeah, the Niners, the Seahawks. No, it's not on the Niners O-line that they got hurt. Nobody can predict somebody tearing their UCL ligament just because you got hit. It's nobody's fault. So, yeah, I said the Niners were more physical too. I think they are. My man James Richards said he's going to be at the Texans game this weekend against the Broncos. Dakota Billings, the Seahawks have to win against Dallas. We lose and the confidence will be too low. Yeah, I agree. If they're trying to make the playoffs, they have to win this game. If the Seahawks are trying to make the playoffs, they got to beat Dallas. They got to beat Dallas. So that's just, I've seen their schedule. They still got the Niners left. They got the Dallas Cowboys. They got the Steelers. They got a tough schedule. They're trying to make the playoffs. They better win. And I don't think they're going to win. I'll be honest. I think the Cowboys are going to beat the Seahawks. So we'll see. We will see. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, as a reminder, people, Monday through Friday, the Big B Daily Show, 4 p.m. Central Time. Chime in, follow if you're on TikTok. And if you are on TikTok, click on the YouTube link in my bio. Come on over and subscribe to Big B Sports Talk. Come on over and when you subscribe, join the chat. Major thing over there, you get interviews, podcasts, Hot Soup Fantasy Footballs over there. A lot of stuff over there that you get. A lot of stuff over there that you get. And also, if you're on YouTube, if you're not subscribed and you're watching, please do. But to support the channel, remember, you can always super chat. Get your question right to the top. It will go right to the top and we read it off immediately. So anything to support the channel, we appreciate that. Opinion on JSN. You think he needs to be receiver 1? No, not with the guys that they have there. I mean, he's fine. He's fine. I'm still not a big Metcalf guy, though. Like, I'm not sure that Metcalf, I'm just not big on DK Metcalf. Are you guys? Do you guys like DK Metcalf? I'm not huge on him. His route running is below average. He's big and fast, but his hands are just okay. I'm just not a huge DK Metcalf guy. Never have been. Do I think the Steelers finish an 8-0 run? Says my man Hooligan. No. But we got an opportunity to win 11 football games. So we got an opportunity to win 11 football games. So we'll see. We will see. We're going to shut this one down for today, people. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Well, tomorrow, we'll get into college football, not predictions. We'll know what everything is. We'll get into the chaos tomorrow and see what it looks like. We'll see what it looks like. So we'll get into that and a couple of other things tomorrow. I appreciate everybody. Again, thank you for joining Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Central, Big B Daily Show. Thank you. I appreciate it. And aloha.